12-2 Nation, what's going on? Coach Joe here. We're back with another episode, and today I'm pumped. I'm pumped. I'm stoked for you guys to meet this guy. One of my really good friends, Ben Weber. I've had the opportunity to meet him over the last couple months in a variety of serving roles at Life Church, serving with the youth and the community. He's truly bettered me as a human, encouraged me in my faith and my walk and I'm a better man because I know Ben and I've got to see him walk out his faith and walk out his athletic journey in a handful of different facets. And so now I'm excited for you guys to kind of get to hear from him, his story, for him to answer some questions for us. And then hopefully once we post this video, you guys can drop your own questions in the comments and we'll be able to probably even have Ben back on again to answer some of those questions and just beyond grateful to have him on here today. Incredible man of God and just a guy who uses his platform to bring glory to the kingdom. And so, Ben, I don't know if you want to start us off, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you. Start us off with a bang. Tell us your story of baseball, of just how you got to where you're at, of faith. Yeah, just appreciate you coming on. I don't know if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm Ben Weber. Joe, I just wanted to encourage you because you've been such a huge impact in my life, just being so encouraging in all the different areas and being able to talk to you about how do I help serve more, what can I do, and you're just kind of like that good foundation to go to run to. So just want to encourage you there. But no, yeah, my baseball journey started when I was probably six. I mean, I played a lot of sports growing up, uh, mostly football, basketball, baseball. I did some track in middle school, and then high school. That's where I narrowed it down to baseball, and I was a two-way third baseman, a little bit of pitching. Get to college, I'm still trying to hit a little bit, but that's not really my thing. I start pitching full time my freshman year at a junior college in Beatrice. That's where I played there for a couple years. COVID hit my freshman year, went back, ended up transferring to Kansas State for my third year of college. Uh, there, from there, I went to Georgia Gwinnett College down in Lawrenceville, Georgia. It's just outside of Atlanta. I went there for 2 years, and I'll dive deeper into this whole story, but later on. But yeah, I mean, I've been all over the place. Finally back home here in Omaha, Nebraska, playing for UNO. Extremely blessed to be back home and to have this sixth year. I mean, I've said it multiple times, but it feels like a fairy tale ending to my career. Kind of looking at it like, wow, it's really the last year, but I mean, I'm just super grateful to be even still playing baseball, living at home right now, having my parents come to my games again. Haven't had that in a while. So just super honored to do that. And I mean, to be back home and to meet people like Joe and a lot of people that we have in our community, it's been so awesome.
Yeah, yeah, I think that one word that you said at the very end there, I'm excited to dive deeper into that whole story. But you say community, and I think that's one thing that you do such a good job of is cultivating and bringing people with you and building up and being around just solid people who are chasing after a lot of the same things that you are wanting or desiring in life. And so I think talking about community, the other day, I got the honor of going and watching Ben and one of his teammates, Tanner, after a game. They had an open mic, like testimony night, where they had their local FCA and there was some local youth there and other college kids from all around. There was probably, I don't know, I think there was like 30 people at least, probably.
Yeah, probably 30, 40.
Yeah, 30, 40 people. And it was just an opportunity, hey, after a game where, hey, Ben and his teammates and Tanner were using the gifts that they had been given by God, they were using that as a platform to go share the gospel, to go, hey, share and build community in the Omaha area. And so that's one thing that was super cool. And it's just as you talked about your story and led back to, hey, I'm here now in Omaha and it's a storybook ending and I'm around community. You're not just speaking about community, but you're building it and you're making your community better. And I think one thing we always talk about, and I talk about with a lot of athletes, is like leaving a place better than you found it, or leaving
Mm.
somewhere better than you found it, giving 110%, doing everything as unto you are doing it for the Lord. And that's one thing that you do an unbelievable job of. Even you've been in Omaha for less than a year. This is your first year here, from around here a little bit further out, of the city, but
Yeah.
you're already leaving this Omaha baseball program better than you found it. You're building it up, you're growing it, you're cultivating community. And so I just wanted to encourage you with that. And
Thank you.
as we get into some of these questions, I'm excited for you to tackle more of your journey to Georgia, because I know that was a huge part in your walk. But the first question I kind of had for you is, you lived in multiple states, you played on multiple college teams, multiple different levels. How have those experiences shaped you as a person, as a player? What life lessons have you learned along the way? Loaded question off the bat.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, I think if I when I look at like my 6 year college career, sort of, there's like very distinct kind of it's like a roller coaster almost. And like I said, the trip back home's been like a fairy tale ending, but like fairy tales aren't always great the whole time. And I think my freshman sophomore year was just a story of like I was very ego filled and I really chased after baseball as like my source of validation. And that those times I pitched pretty good my freshman year. And then I went into COVID with this big ego and big head, and I really wasn't a great person to be around. I'm surprised my friends stuck around me during that time period. But uh, yeah, I mean, then transition into Kansas State, and I realized that like I'm really not as great at baseball as I thought I was. And just that sort of emptiness that I was feeling from like, wow, like like if baseball was what I was worshiping at the time, like it just let me down. Like here I am with nothing now. And transition then to Georgia Gwinnett, and like I didn't really know if I wanted to play baseball anymore after Kansas State. Just not necessarily like what happened at the program, but it was more so like what was happening inside of me. And um yeah, go to Georgia, and I just really I was searching for the best version of myself at that point. And I'm like, okay, like baseball is great. I love baseball, and Georgia Gwinnett wins a lot of games. I know that. And so I'm gonna go be around some like winners and try to find the best man that I can be. And that's exactly what Georgia Gwinnett set me down the path to. Jeremy Sheetinger, my coach down there, that dude, he put me on the path that I'll probably be on the rest of my life. Just the moment we talked for the first time on the phone, uh, he encouraged my vulnerability for like what had happened for my entire life, but then he also challenged me to like take accountability and just walk with it and try to exactly like I said, like find the best version of myself. And so yeah, it was just a everyday challenge to like challenge myself to become better. And I mean, that's kind of a vague answer, but I think and that ultimately brought me back to the Bible and like digging into the word and being like, wow, like, okay, finding the best version of myself starts here. It's not, I mean, you can listen and you can watch all the self-help books that you want. But I mean, ultimately, the source of what's going to make me better was right there in the Bible. And it really was. I mean, I started reading my Bible down there every single day. Uh, and it wasn't like boom, it all happened at once and then my life was wonderful. But no, it was like, all right, open up the Bible. Okay, well, put it away for a little bit, open it back up, put it away, like wrestling with it. And then finally just like, all right, like this is it. I'm giving it up like to you. Like I'm gonna buy in. And then I got baptized down there in Georgia, and then it feels so like surreal to come back home now with like this new path that God set me on. And to like be able to give back to my community. That's kind of exactly what I felt when I was transferring this last summer. Was like, man, if I could go home, like I feel like I need to give back to that community. When I left Omaha, I was a different man than I am now. So it's like my responsibility give back and to do it better this time. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say that's probably my answer.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think there was I mean, a couple things that stood out to me. I think the journey itself, right? Going from place to place, like starting at a local JUCO and then going to K-State and then going to Georgia and then ending up back here. I think that's awesome. Like not everybody gets those little pit stops, those little chapters in the story that we call life. And it was cool to see the impact that your team in Georgia had. And you went there as, hey, I wanted to win. Like I know these guys are winners. I know they win games, but not only did they teach you how to win baseball games, but they taught you how to win the game of life. They
Mhm.
taught you tools and disciplines and characteristics that you needed to grow and build in to become a better man, which would ultimately help you to win the game of life, which would ultimately
Mhm.
help you to win games on the baseball field. And
Exactly.
so, can you touch on that a little bit? Just like what were some of the things that hey, you learned at Georgia of becoming a better man and person that helped you to win games on the field
Yeah.
and also helped you win the game of life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the first like messages that Coach Sheets would always talk about is like if or one that he would always run by me because I told him that I wanted to be the best version of myself, blah blah blah. He's like, exactly, we want to develop the person first. And on the wall, they have uh they have three words on the in the locker room: person, student, player. So person comes first. So if we can develop the person, this is their philosophy. If we can develop the person, the best version of themselves, then we're gonna get the best baseball player out of them. And so like that was for the first time I felt like a coaching staff wanted to develop me as a human being, not just as a player. And like, I mean, junior college, that's exactly what all it was just, all right, be the best baseball player you can so you can go on to a big school, whatever. And then K-State, like, we need you to produce results right now, right here, because we're in the Big 12 and we have to win games. Like, jobs are on the line. Like, absolutely. That's how it works. And so for the first time, I kind of felt like coach wanted to pour into us as human beings first. And so, I mean, we did things in our classroom every single day. I mean, it was Toolbox Tuesday. We're learning how to shake hands, how to tie a tie. We're learning how to do our taxes, like what a credit card is, like just stuff that, we're going to need to use the rest of our life, like just little stuff.
Yeah.
And in the moment, you're kind of like, whatever, like this is kind of stupid. But now I'm like shaking hands and or uh, doing stuff that we were learning, like changing a tire, changing your oil, like stuff like that was like, now I can do it. Like I can figure it out, like stuff, little stuff. Wednesdays were always Appreciation Wednesday. Uh, that's where we would call somebody right before practice for 5 minutes, and yeah, we would just call someone new every week, and it was just a good way to like reach out to someone I haven't talked to in a while and say, man, I appreciate you, like what you did in my life or who you are in my life. And so we would always like walk out of classroom, talk on the phone for 5, 10 minutes right before practice, and then we'd go into practice. And then on Thursdays, we would do hero, highlight, hardship, which is like a more of a impactful. Every single person gets up there, they share almost their testimony, like who a hero is in their life, what a highlight is of their life, and what a hardship is in their life. And it would get really deep, but I think there's just so much power and vulnerability and like being able to accept like what your story is and being able to say, okay, yep, that's me. And I'm not gonna I'm choosing not to be the the bad version, if that makes any sense. But like I'm gonna choose to walk in who I am and like own it and then be better because of it.
Mm.
And then I'd say as far as like pure baseball skills, I think one of the biggest things that we did down there was mindfulness breathing. So every practice we would start with 20 minutes of just mindfulness training, and Sheets would guide us through meditation almost, but we're sitting there, we're visualizing box breathing, we're doing all the different, he's just teaching us different ways we can feel like we're becoming present in the world. And I think he said at the very least, like if you guys don't buy into this, at the very least you're getting 20 minutes where you don't feel bogged down by a cell phone or you don't feel bogged down by relationships. Like you can just and be with yourself for 20 minutes. And so I think that was just such like a eye-opening experience of like how much that actually slowed me down to realize, wow, I can like just take a deep breath and get back to center whenever I want. Like, and now I walk through life, I walk into a job interview, feeling a little stressed out, feeling a little sped up. I can just go, here I am. I'm here right now. Like I'm right here where my feet are, and there's nowhere else I need to be. So,
Gosh, that's good. I had to get out my notebook and pen and write some of these things down because
yeah, those are some good Sheets classics right there, man. That dude is the greatest role model I've ever met in my entire life. So,
yeah, that is that is incredible. And I think those are just right. They help you on the diamond. They help you win games. They help you be the best baseball player that you can be. But I think the cool thing about it is that, hey, when you're done playing baseball, when you're done playing whatever sport you're playing, when you're done doing athletics, because eventually, unfortunately, it ends. Like it ends for everybody, whether
hmm
you're pros, college, high school, youth, injury. Like it's just one of those sad things that it doesn't last forever, but you can
hmm
take those skills into life. You said it
yeah,
yourself, I can walk into a job interview and I can do mindfulness breathing. Like I hope if I were you that I'm still calling somebody up every Wednesday and doing
yeah,
appreciation Wednesday. Like I'm sure we slack, I'm sure we forget, but I think that's something that I want to adopt. Like
yeah,
that's awesome. Like how often do we think of something that's nice about somebody else or think of somebody that we haven't maybe seen or talked to in a long time and neglect to reach out?
yeah,
It's something we can all improve on and all do better on. And so that's incredible. And I think it kind of leads into one of my other questions I had for you about you've played for so many different programs and so many different cultures and so many different coaches, and you touched on how Georgia Coach Sheets impacted you so much and grew you as a person, as a player, as a human being, and overall. How has that helped you kind of develop your leadership skills and your mental toughness? And hey, when you do face adversity, like how have the skills that you've learned through every stop helped you to push beyond your limits when you feel like you're hitting that wall?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely have been around very different leadership every single stop that I've been at. My freshman, sophomore year at the JUCO was just like, I mean, they wanted the best out of you as a player, and so they were gonna get it through like by any means. Like they're gonna make you run. Like they'll get your running shoes ready. You're gonna run until you're a better player. That was pretty much how that went. And then K-State was just like a CEO. Like, man, that dude, that coach, he's gonna put in the guy that's on paper going to get him the results he needs to be successful because it's his team and his job's on the line. And that's just how it is. Like, makes sense. That's probably how it works at that level. And then Georgia Gwinnett, like, obviously, I've talked about Sheets a lot. And then here is more like back to CEO, sort of very calm, collected, like no anxiety environment. Like we're just here and like just play ball, like just play ball. Like it's that simple. And so I think I relate the most to probably Sheets and just like I have like an extremely high care level for human beings and like for people. And like I want to see teammates or people around me and myself achieve high and great things. So like I'm gonna pour into people and like encourage them and fill other people up to try to get the most out of them. I think that's as far as styles go. Like I'm not gonna like I've been struggling with this recently on the baseball team. We're like in a little bit of a losing patch right now. Coaches are kind of calling out the older guys to step up and be leaders on the team and like take this thing where you want it to go, guys. And so like I'm thinking, man, I just don't think I can sit here and yell at guys. Like I'm not just gonna scream at dudes until I'm blue in the face to like get them to want to win as much as I want to win. And that's not to say that they don't want to win, but I think I'm more of a I want to love on dudes, and it's what I've found from through Jesus as well. Just like I'm reading a book called Lead Like Jesus, and like it's such a great book for like how to encourage people and how to like lift them up. And so I definitely feel like I resonate with a leadership style that like out of ultimate care level for who they are as a person, I'm going to stop at nothing to like encourage them and to try to pull the best out of people. And that's not by means of anger, but like if I do raise my voice at someone, it's because I love, they know that I love the heck out of them. And it's because they're falling short of what they can do and they know they can do and what I know they can do. So that's probably the only situation where personally I would raise my voice. Otherwise, like it's care level. That's like a huge word that we use at Gwinnett. And I think it starts with everything. Like trust and love is another two from Gwinnett. I'm just stealing Sheets playbook right now, but man, I like all that stuff that we talked
Impact.
about down there just took that to heart. It's so good.
Yeah, dude, everything that you talk about, I mean, there of culture and the way things are. And before I go further, I just want to say thanks for like your vulnerability, like in that of like sharing, like, hey, this is what's going on. This is where we've been. We're in a little bit of a losing patch right now. It's been difficult for me. Um, Getting to know you and learn the way that you lead, and not only the way that you lead, but the way that you care is is been incredible to see. And like when I talk about at the very beginning, like I've learned so much from you already. It's in that. It's like, hey, we may be in this losing patch right now, but my care level never fluctuates. It's like here, like I love my guys so much and I love my teammates so much that hey, if I do get on you, like you said, it's out of a place of love. And
Hmm.
I've never met a guy who cares more about their teammates in the way that they call me up and they're like, "Hey man, like this is what's going on. Like I just need to talk to you about this or have an advice on this or question on this." And it's always about how do I like love my teammates like better.
Yeah.
You you
Yep.
you already do a crazy good job. And so that's what I'm saying of if there is a time when it's hey, I want to get on a guy here and I want to get on a guy there. Never would they, in my eyes, receive it as gosh, like Ben is just like always on me, man. Like always, like
Yeah.
I can't get him off. It's like, no, like Ben loves me and he sees what's best in me. And I think that's another gift that you have being around, hey, being a 6 year guy, being a little bit older, is you have the
Yep.
perspective of you've been at all these places, you've seen all these things at JUCO in the Big 12, at in Georgia, now back in Omaha. You've been at all these levels, you've seen all these things, probably been around some really good baseball players and you can
Hmm.
probably see like in these young cats of man that guy's got potential like how do I pull that out of him
Hmm.
and I always say the word encouragement means to physically inject courage into somebody and hopefully getting them to a place where they maybe believe they don't even believe they can get themselves and so I think you as a sixth year in Omaha coming back storybook ending as you talk about it you have that ability as a sixth year, somebody who the younger guys probably look up to in a lot of ways to get on them in love and continually just inject courage into all your teammates. And
Hmm.
another thing, just to give you another shout out is, hey, you guys haven't had the best start to conference, right? Just being honest.
Hmm.
You've told me that. I've said I've seen that the community of Omaha can see that, but not once have I seen you waver. Not once have I seen you say, man, like, yeah, we play Northern Colorado this weekend. Like, I don't know how it's gonna go. Like, we're 0-6 right now. You've been like, hey, we'll turn it around. Every time it's we're gonna turn it around. It's not if, but when. It's not if,
Yeah.
but when. And I
Yeah.
think that's a mindset. And so I would even ask, like, how do you build like I'm sure it was over time and I'm sure it was through experiences and I'm sure it was through adversities, but how did you build that mindset and that mental
Yeah.
where hey, even when you guys are hitting that wall and it doesn't feel like it's getting any better, it's not the if, but when. How did you
Yeah.
build?
Well, I think one, I know what this team's capable of, so like, and I know what we've done, and I know that there's the love for each other in there, and like, so I feel like I can see like, all right, like eventually it's gonna turn around. Like I know something that I've kind of noticed through baseball is like the game seems to come back around for people that just kind of stick to it and they keep their head down and they just keep working through it, especially like great people. Like it's kind of like weird to think about it this way about the game and having like a personality, but I definitely believe that like the game rewards those And this is ultimately God. It's ultimately God that's rewarding. But I think when you just keep your head down, you keep working hard, like hard work doesn't equal results. We all know that. But we know that like man, great people get rewarded, and I've seen it time and time again where, somebody's going through a slump and they come up with a huge hit to win a ball game. Or somebody hasn't been pitching so great, and then they come out of the bullpen and throw six scoreless innings for us to win a ball game. Like that stuff just comes around for some people. And so like I'm always looking for well, first of all, I'm always trying to put myself in a position where like I'm never gonna just like take this off. First of all, because I'm so grateful to still be playing. But second, like I know that if I just keep pushing forward, like something's gonna turn. And I think being able to carry that into life, honestly, is a big skill that I'm happy to have learned from baseball is like, I mean, stuff can go wrong like time and time and time again, but I know that like we are our eternity is already secure and because of what Jesus did for us. So like I can either like go through a rough patch and give up and then like I'm still secure in the end, so then I win. But or I could go through this rough patch and try to push through it. And my security's or I'm secure in Jesus. So it's like it's just a win-win to keep a mentality of like, man, I'm always just gonna keep pushing forward. Like there's no reason I should just give up right here. Like there's no reason.
Mhm.
I think that's probably what that came from, if that answered your question.
Yeah, no, no, I think it's great. And I think that even pours into a leadership style. Like you talked about all these leadership styles of at the beginning at all these different places and schools and universities you went, and a leadership style that you just touched on, maybe without even realizing it, is servant leadership. Like
Hmm.
showing up and serving your teammates, encouraging your teammates, pushing beyond when you guys hit a wall, and ultimately not letting it waver your actions or your attitude or your effort towards things. It's you show up and you're just constant because you know you've already won.
Hmm.
You know you've won the game. You know that your salvation is in Jesus, and he already won the game of life for you. And so now you're
Yep.
just playing free. And I always say, and I always talk to a lot of athletes that, hey, sometimes the most dangerous, if not almost every time the most dangerous player or the most talented player, maybe not even talented, but is one that plays free and knows that they've
Hmm.
already won. And they're not so tense in the batter's box. They're not so tense on the pitching mound because they know they've already won. And now they can
Yep.
just go use their God-given abilities to glorify him. And
Yep.
so I think that's a cool way to look at it. And I just I admired your team and your bounce back from even just the attitudes the other night of, hey, controlling what you could control. I
Yep.
so much of what you talked about in that last snippet too is you can't always control the circumstances. You can't always control what coach is going to do. You can't always control the weather of the
Right.
game. You can't always control who's pitching against you that day. But what you can control is, hey, your attitude, your effort, your focus. And one thing that you said again at the beginning is being where your feet are. And it
Yep.
goes back to that mindfulness breathing. Like it just helps you to be present. Like
Yeah. And
simple steps.
oh, sorry.
No, got it. It was good.
No, I was just gonna say like, and there's nothing. Oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. Uh, yeah, I lost my train of thought. So let's just keep rolling.
Yeah,
My
no,
bad.
you're
I'll
good.
think about it, I'm sure.
Yeah, it'll come back up, but
Yeah.
no, it's cool to see. And I think over time, that kind of leads me into this next question of, okay, being a sixth year, you're a great role model, you're a great example. You're one of the guys who probably the younger cats look up to a little bit of, hey, how do I aim to be in a position where Ben is someday? Of, hey, I'm a guy in the rotation, I'm doing well, I'm using my talent, I'm glorifying God in the process. Like, how do you best use the tools and resources and the experiences that you've have and that you've been given to then pour into the younger guys who
Hmm.
come to the program?
Yeah, I think it just always being available for questions for sure. Like, I don't think there's because I don't want to be that like no, you're going to be this guy. Like you're like I need to pull you with me. Like I think it's definitely a decision that they need to come to within themselves to like want to strive to be the best version of themselves. And but I think giving them that example and being super encouraging and like I said, loving on them, like, man, like you're a stud. Like just stick to it. You see them go through hard times. Like hard times are what made everyone better because of it. So no one in a fairy tale got to the fairy tale ending by great times the whole time, because then that book sucks. The whole 500-page book is ups and downs and everything in between. Like you gotta watch, or I try to, just like let them feel the emotions of up and down and just like be there with them through the emotions. And I think there's one pitcher in particular that I think of that's going to be really good for us. And he's a freshman and he has like the worst ERA on the team right now, which is crazy because he's probably one of our best freshman pitchers. But you got to let him feel the emotions of like, man, I suck right now. But also being there like, dude, it's fine. Like, you're just trust me, stay with it. You're good. Like, we're gonna figure this thing out together. I'm gonna be right here with you. Like, I got your back. If I go in after you, I got your back. If any of them go in after you, they got your back. Like, that's just a mentality that honestly we haven't really had much of this year. But after getting like pushed against the wall like we have these last 7 games, I think it's like double down our effort to like really care about each other and like take pride and like, man, I'm gonna back my dude up because we're getting bullied right now. And so like I'm gonna pick up my dudes, like my hitters that are struggling, like or my pitchers that are struggling. Like it comes down to each and every one of us, a decision we make inside of ourselves to pick each other up.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that a word that comes to mind with that is sacrifice. It's like
Yeah.
you could easily be the guy on the team right now that's I've done my time. I put in my effort. I've done my responsibilities. I'm here. I got a spot. I'm pitching on the weekends. I'm in the rotation. I'm me. It's about me. It's about the name on the back of my jersey, the one on the front. Nah, I did my time. You could easily be like that, but you're not. And I think
Yeah.
that's a contagious attitude, a contagious belief that can go either way. And so if the older
Yeah.
guys are all like that, the younger guys see that and that grows and that can ruin a program,
Yep.
right?
I think
So it's that we
just
you got it.
so I was just say just really quick, just to go
I
off
know.
that. Like yeah, I was just talking about it last night. Like I for 6 years have never played as much as I am right now. And so like for 5 years. So freshman year I pitch every weekend, but COVID shuts it down, so I got like 4 starts in. And then sophomore year comes around and I have a really rough year. Like I pitched a lot, but I'm not really happy. And of course, I'm consumed by the game and my ego and whatnot. But then the last 3 years, like I really don't pitch much at all. And so coming into this year, I've had like this new appreciation for like being that guy in the dugout that like pours into the guy on the field. And so like I have the perspective of like I know how much it means to me in the dugout. Like I know how important it is for me in the dugout to be able to pour into the guy on the field because like I'm still a part of the team and like I have as a person on the bench, you have to find a way to supply energy and to supply like just a care level or something into the field. Otherwise, you're taking it away. You're an energy vampire. And those are poison to the team. So like now that I'm a player that's pitched, I've pitched, this is more than I've ever pitched in my life, probably. And yeah, I mean, I can go to the guys and say, hey, man, like like this is what it means. And it's because I've had 4 years where I sit the bench every game, like 99% of the games. So I know how important that is and I know how important it is, like, because when you're on the bench, it's so easy to get in that mindset of like, poor me, poor me. But the second I like switched into a mode where like, all right, I'm just gonna cheer on the team. And because at the end, if we win a ring, like everyone gets the same size ring. Like it does not matter whether you were the Friday night guy, whether the four-hole batter, you're gonna get the same ring that the 27th man on the roster gets. So it does not matter. And the second you can own up to like what your role is on the team, there's just so much power in that. There's so much like power in like, man, I'm the 27th man right now. So I'm on the chart and I'm screaming my lungs out for my guys because at the end, when we win a ring, I'm gonna get the same ring. And I'm gonna walk through life knowing that we won a championship together. And I
Yeah.
know how important winning is for people too.
Yeah. No. No, I love that. And everybody's got a role, right? Everybody's got a part. It's one team, it's one body with many functioning parts, many functioning players who all play a role. And if you're missing one guy, then the whole thing could fall apart. But hopefully you've built a strong enough culture, you guys have a strong enough team to where, hey, maybe somebody's not having their best performance, you lift each other up. You
Yep.
pick each other up. You're injecting courage, you're encouraging building up, not being a vampire, but being a cheerleader in
Yep.
in a way. And I think it's a we over me mindset, a we over
Hmm.
me mentality. And it has to be. Those are the best teams. Like I'm watching March Madness right now, and every single team I almost is almost you can see in their body language that it's not about me. It's like I don't care if I score 2 points or 30 points. As long as we win, because
Hmm.
I'm willing to sacrifice my role for the goodness of the team.
If we win, we all get paid.
Yeah, we win, we all get paid.
That's what Sheets would always say.
NIL thing.
He would always say that just because, like, well, we were actually a NAIA like contender for a World Series, and they'd won 2 years before I got there, the World Series. And like, he would always talk about the value of winning. And so, like, not that it's not results based. Like, obviously, we were very process oriented, and like, we did all the things that made you stay in the day to day. But I think you can walk through life winning a championship. You can walk through life knowing like, man, I can outcompete anyone that I want for the rest of my life. Like I can win at whatever I want because I won a championship. Or if you lose in that championship game, like you can walk through life, man, like, man, I'm never going to let someone outcompete me again. And I like just that feeling that championships bring. And frankly, the world treats winners and losers differently. Like that's just the way it is. And obviously, we're all winners because we gave our lives to Jesus. And so there's definitely a lesson in that too. I think, uh, yeah, just a
Yeah.
little side note.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. What would you say to this question kind of roots from a handful of those things intertwined that you just talked about, but like to somebody who is maybe the 27th guy on the roster, or hey, maybe it's a high school kid on JV that just can't get over the hump to be on varsity, or it's hey, maybe you make the varsity team and you're thinking it's your year, you're gonna get that playing time, and it just doesn't end up working that way. Or to the kid who is 3 games into the year, they're having an unreal season and they have an injury and it derails the
Mm,
whole season, and it maybe derails the recruiting process. All of those things, how do you stay positive? How do you stay on this straight path, and continue to get up day in and day out when
yeah,
it feels like nothing is going your way?
yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, it's gonna suck, and there's nobody that can take away our human emotion of, man, this sucks. Like last year, I can speak for experience for sure. Last year, I was pitching. This is going to be my professional baseball year. Like finally, like I'm pitching really good. Like I'm throwing harder than I ever have in my life. I'm pitching great. I have one outing at Gwinnett, and my back just starts not feeling right. We get on a bus ride it's like 9 hours away, and just really doesn't feel right. Stiff. I'm getting hot for a game. I'm getting ready to go into a game, and man, oh my gosh, my back's just killing me. We get back to Lawrenceville from that road trip, and like I'm like immobilized. Like I can't hardly move my my upper body or my back at all without like almost bursting into tears. Like I remember calling my trainer, like, I need to go to the doctor now. Like, I can't move in my kitchen right now. And that was just such a scary time. And I just remember feeling so terrible. And like, this was after I was saved. Like, this was after I was baptized. Like, I'm reading the Bible every day. Like, I'm locked in. I mean, everything was going so great. And then I get hit with this. I'm like, what is the purpose of this? Like, I think like we talked about at Life Church, the benefit of doubt. Like, I just think I was so doubtful at that time, but like I remained like believing that this was all part of the bigger purpose of God's will. Like man, that sucked. Like I literally cried moving in my own house. Like that was terrible. And I felt so sorry for myself because like man, this was supposed to be the year that I get drafted and it sucked going around the team because I was supposed to be this guy and now they're looking at me like crippled. It was like there was a lot of emotion. I mean, and that's just what it was. And like I think I had to kind of break down some barriers of like people are gonna think what they want to think, but like at the end of the day, like it's about you and God and like what you believe God is doing in your life. And so I was just really trying to root like it was hard, and I'm not gonna pretend it wasn't hard, but like in those moments, you're the star player, get hurt, you're the 27th man, you are going through some sort of hardship, like understanding and like really just like trying to force it into your mind that okay, I'm gonna just do what I can do right now. I'm gonna control what I can control, and because God's got the plan, like He's got the steering wheel. I've always heard like God's got the steering wheel, but you must like you're the one that presses drive, like you're the one that presses go, or he's got the whatever sails on a boat, and you have to row. So like I'm always gonna be full on rowing and like no matter like we're going through a storm, all right, I'm rowing. We're going through whatever, we're going through rough patches, we're going through good patches. Like I have it's my responsibility to row. So I think that's just like a fun analogy for thinking about those time periods of my life of like, man, it sucked, but I just kept my nose down. I'd go to the gym and I would do whatever I could. Like I was playing pickleball because it was the one thing that I could do to keep active. Like just whatever I could do, I was doing it.
Yeah.
And then especially on the team side, like being in the dugout, cheering on my guys, like boosting them up, trying to be on chart, talking to Sheets about like, man, my responsibility at the time was I was supposed to be in the bullpen on the walkie-talkie, like getting guys hot, ready to go in the game. Like that, okay, that's my job. All right, great. Like you got it. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's so good. It makes me think of a couple different things, and I love the car analogy. I'm a big analogy guy myself. Love a
Yeah,
good,
yeah. It's good.
and I like there's one that I heard of. You talked so much about emotions right there, and it's like, hey, it's okay to let it out that it does suck a lot of the times. Like when you're going through those seasons, when you're going through those rough patches, when you're maybe hurt or you're injured, or hey, you're maybe not getting the playing time you deserve. It's really easy to let your emotions be the driver and
Hmm.
let your emotions control your day. And you go wherever you feel like and you do whatever you feel. But there's an analogy, and that's why I like the car of emotions are great, like backseat riders.
Mm,
They're great for you to like, hey, I acknowledge you're there. Like I acknowledge you're in the back seat,
yeah,
but
I
I'm
like
not
that.
gonna let you drive my car.
That's good.
God- God's gonna drive my car. Like I'm gonna have my foot on the gas. Like I'm gonna be obedient to where I'm going. And I'll acknowledge my emotions are there, but I'm not gonna let them control where I go in the day to day. And I think
That's
that
awesome.
that's so hard for a lot of us to wrap our mind around because it's like, okay, if I don't feel good, then it's not right. Like it's wrong almost.
Yeah,
And and no, like you showed up with a mentality of, dang, like this sucks. Like there is no ounce of me that doesn't believe that you wanted to be the guy on the mound when you were hurt,
yeah,
that you
yeah,
wanted to be your teammate. But yet you showed up and you lived out the verse of Colossians 3:23 that says, "Whatever I do, I'm going to work at it with all my heart as I'm working for the Lord and not for human." And you did that by holding a walkie-talkie, by getting
yeah,
guys hot, by encouraging people, by lifting others up when they maybe had a poor outing, by, hey, people still look up to me because I'm the dude. I'm the guy who they thought was going to be pitching this year, but my role has changed. and I can't let my emotions of, gosh, this is horrible, me, poor me, drive my day. Because if you let it drive your day, you're gonna crash. What do bad
Yep.
drivers do? They get into crashes. Emotions are
Yep.
horrible drivers, and if you let your emotions drive, you'll crash.
Yep.
And so I think that was great. And I think that's something we can all use just in life because
Yep.
there's gonna be days, right, where we just don't feel like doing it.
I love the piece of the you can acknowledge that they're back there. Like, yep, I hear you. I hear you back there. You're pretty loud and you're screaming at me. Those anxiety emotion back there just loves to yell at me. But I you can also in the driver's seat turn it down. You have the knob for volume right there too. So you can always say, all right, yep, I don't have to listen to you. Like you're there, but I don't have to like listen to you like you're trying to tell me. And it's gonna feel like you don't have control of that. But just like joy is a choice, so is every other emotion.
Yeah. Dang, man, that's so good. That's so good. And I think that's a thing. I want to kind of end there. I kind of want to start landing the ship there because I think that is a piece that everybody can take from everything that we talked about. There was so much nuggets and wisdom that you brought to the table that I'm even going to go back and re-listen and soak it in a little bit more, be a sponge,
Yeah, I
uh,
love it.
because I learned so much from you, from everybody who comes on here to the people like we learn from each other, from experiences. Like that's why I loved a lot of your answers is because what you've experienced and where you are now, a lot of people have similar experiences. Not the same, but similar. And
Hmm.
they've been through a lot of the same things, injury, adversity, transferring, like going to different places, being around different people, being around different cultures. And we can all learn from each other. Everybody's got something to learn from each other. And so, last question, if you were to talk to your younger self, or you could leave our athletes, leave the listeners with one piece of advice, what would you give them? Could be something you've already said earlier, or could be something totally new.
Yeah, just I mean, enjoy it. Like, I mean, I'm done with ball after this year. Like, I'm down to like my last 2.5 months left of baseball. And at the beginning in my freshman year, I just remember looking at like baseball, like I'm gonna do this the rest of my life. And there's a lot of days where I would just like kind of take it for granted, and I would just challenge you to just really like be mindful, be present, try to get in the appreciation phone calls. Like there's so many people around us that help us get to where we are, especially in sport. Like what we do is not life or death. So it's like I'm still living, I'm breathing, whether I lose this game or not. Like I'm still gonna go home, go to sleep, eat a warm meal, like most most of the time. And yeah, I think just don't take it for granted. Just be grateful for like every day that you get to play or every day that we're alive here. I mean, that's about it. I try to tell that to all the I've done a few lessons over the years, and most of the time the parents are always like, "What do I do? What is he supposed to do?" And is that I mean, go home, eat a good meal, and go play catch some more. Like literally, it's that simple. Like to get better is just enjoy it, and like when you enjoy the game, you just get better because of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many people do we know that burn themselves out? Like they just go crazy and they burn themselves out before they even sniff their potential. It's like, all right, well, if that's the overwhelming majority, then maybe we ought to just enjoy it more.
Mm, yeah. Gosh, that's good. That's a good way to end it, is just acknowledge that, man, it's a blessing each
Hmm.
day. Everything that we get to do, everything that we get to be a part of, the conversations, the interactions, the places we get to go,
Hmm.
it's a blessing. And
Yep.
so just have that enjoy attitude, that enjoy mindset. So, man, Ben, this was a good conversation. Definitely gonna
Yeah.
have you back on for some more. I loved it. I appreciate you.
Thank you, bro.
Just as a dude, as a brother in Christ, um, just look up to the way that you lead and you continue to show up and don't let your emotions drive your car, man. You are
Hmm.
grounded in knowing that you have victory in Jesus, and you let that guide your life. So I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. To the listeners, be great today.